And we're live. What's up, everybody? It's Ali here, coming at you with another video here. Where I talk about all the experimentations that I do on myself to maximize my physique and my health. Today is a special video. I have with me my bodybuilding coach who has been working with me for the past month, Coach Elias Ramirez. What's up, Coach?
All good, all good.
And today we are going to be going over a couple of things. One, we're going to be going, my coach is here to talk about my new big experiment that I'm about to do for both my purposes of science, as well as for my new epic transformation that I am working on, where I am getting ready to go to the Mr. Olympia event this year with the Enhanced Athlete crew, and I actually look like I'm a part of the crew. It is something that is going to be a big project for me. It's a big life-changing project for me. But of course, this experiment that we are about to talk about is also very good for science as well. And the experiment we're going to be talking about today is what happens when you take the human trial data for the SARM RAD 140 and you apply it to a bodybuilding cycle transformation. Now, a SARM, for those who don't know, is a selective androgenic receptor modulator. It has been designed to basically replace anabolic steroids, and in a sense that it acts more selective in tissue. So there could be something, whereas an anabolic steroid like testosterone, for example, could be a non-selective. So there'd be some certain purposes, like, for example, the RAD 140 that we were going to talk about was designed actually to be a substitute for testosterone for patients who may actually suffer from the negative side effect of having their PSA levels go up too high due to the result of the therapy. Whereas the RAD 140 may actually avoid affecting the PSA and increasing the size of the prostate, and thus allow the person to still get the benefits of PRP without them having their prostate being screwed. Now, recently, RAD 140 is one of the more popular SARMs that just got done doing some human trial data where 60-year-old postmenopausal women with breast cancer were being tried out with this SARM to see if they could help improve their condition. And there was some interesting data that came from this, mainly which a new half-life, as well as a new dosage that can be handled by people. So we're gonna switch over to a screen, and then after I done going over this data, I'm gonna switch it over to my coach, who's gonna give his opinion on this experiment, on how the new data applied to the person like myself who is doing PRT, what he thinks that this experiment is going to lead to, and then we'll go over blood work that I have done, where we can go over all the health markers of things that we need to pay attention to while being on this experiment. Because my coach is not only a bodybuilding coach, he is a scientist and a paramedic, so he has some expertise that will be very beneficial to this experiment. All right.
Yes, sir.
So just switch over. Okay, so here is a abstract of the study that was done. A couple of things to point out was that this was again done by scientists who were testing out it on 60-year-old plus women who were in postmenopausal and they had breast cancer. Right over here, you can see that postmenopausal. I just had it right here. In advance, there we go. The androgen receptor modulator was expressed to be 90% of the ER. It's an androgen-based therapy. Demonstrated response times was 20 to 6%. RAD 140 is a non-steroidal SARM. Sorry. May have to edit this part a little bit. Give me a second.
Don't worry, man.
Yeah, let me just highlight the specific part that shows.
And we'll go from there.
Primary endpoint of safety.
Dose limiting toxicity, 28 treatment cycles with 100. There you go.
Yeah.
1 week sampling before entering continuous 28-day treatment cycles with 100 milligrams QD dosing.
Yeah. So we could definitely. All right. So I want to find also the part that shows that it was done for postmenopausal women. Oh, well, that's one part. But where was the part that said that they were 60 years old?
Maybe down the road.
Okay, so all right, jump back in. So here is an abstract of the trial that was done for this experiment with RAD. During the dose escalation phase, the patients were treated with RAD 140 once daily in a 28-day cycle. In the subsequent PK, which is short for protein kinase expansion cohort, points were treated with a single dose of 100 milligrams, followed by 1 week of PK sampling before entering the continuous 28-day treatment cycle with 100 milligrams QD dosing. Dose-limiting toxicities were assessed during the first 28-day cycle. Key eligibility criteria included an ER+/HER2- and an inoperable/MBC, postmenopausal and ineligibility for standard therapy. So this study, these women who were in their elderly age and have breast cancer were given 100 milligrams of RAD 140 per day. So we're used to now me and Coach Elias here, we're used to just hearing dosages like 20 to 30 milligrams for bodybuilding purposes. These women were on 100 milligrams, and they will show you how old these women were. The median age right over here shows 60 years of age. So these women, these are not young bodybuilders. These are women who have a disease, and they are being treated with a SARM that is very strong, and yet they're able to handle these mega dosages that we are not used to seeing. Now, the one interesting thing about this study that I think was the most important thing to discover was that it discovered the new half-life. We're used to hearing that RAD 140 had a 24-hour half-life, but yet because of this study, the half-life that we was actually found to be half-life approximately 60 hours, not 24. Now that's a big deal to find out, because if most people are using SARMs like RAD 140 and they're thinking that it's only got a 24-hour half-life, not knowing that it has a 60-hour half-life, then what you're ending up doing is you're setting yourself up with a compounding effect where you're constantly just stacking the dosages up. And then, if you're running this for 8 to 12 weeks or something, then you have really high dosages of this SARM present in your system, which could explain why some people experience negative side effects with the SARM. So the purpose of this experiment, which is to test out not only
with the pill and injectable.
Yeah. So for the purposes of this experiment, for both my transformation as well as for the sake of science, we are going to test out what it's going to be like to do RAD 140 with a young male like myself who is on TR2 taking 200 milligrams of testosterone per week. And we're going to be using the medium dosage that was done from this trial, which is 100 milligrams of RAD 140, and we're going to apply the new half-life, which is 60 hours. So basically, what would happen if we're taking 100 milligrams on Monday and Thursdays out of the week with the SARM RAD 140 alongside 100 milligrams Monday and Thursday of testosterone? Could it be better than just taking 20 to 30 milligrams of RAD 140 per day? Could it be worse? Could I still get the same benefits of getting the muscle hardening and the strength things that RAD 140 perpetuated, and maybe, but without the side effects? we won't know until we try. So now I'm going to turn this over to my coach, Coach Elias here. I want to get your opinion based on your medical expertise and your bodybuilding coaching expertise about what you think of this new data as well as this experiment as a whole. To you, Coach.
Yes. Well, first of all, this is a great experiment, especially for science and for bodybuilding. If we look at this, we saw that at 100, what happens? An age factor. So all the way to 60. And what would happen if it was even less age? So right now, how old are you, Ali?
I am 32 years old.
32. So that's halfway, right? This is what's happening. When you go on any compound on a high dose, you're going to get elevations in your liver enzymes as GOT levels, ALT, AST. So in this factor, what I'm looking at is that maybe going higher dose just at 60 milligrams and dividing that dose, between days, see what happens. This is my prediction. I believe you're going to become massive. Yes, you're going to become way stronger because we have testosterone there as a base. But just, it's just TRT dose. Nothing wrong. So by enhancing it with the actual RAD 140, which is known to increase muscle mass, give you that strength, we're going to actually see if in fact, it will affect the luteinizing hormone levels. Yes. And this is a really important factor because this hormone is also connected to RAD 140 because it varies with age. And this happens with this particular hormone itself. So when men need to produce more testosterone, they have it really low, suppressed, right? So that means you need more testosterone. So what are we going to do? Are we going to mitigate? Are we going to continue? Yes, we're going to continue to see what happens in this science experiment, to see how that affects him and see if he needs to go, what's the perfect cycle. But my predictions is taking advantage of the actual, gene that you have. It's pretty amazing the results that I've had with you. It's incredible. I haven't seen this this is the transformation from day one to now has been amazing. I can't just imagine what's going to be with RAD 140. When you have the follicle stimulant hormone, we know that it's made where? In the pituitary gland, right? So if it's compromised, what is going to happen? What's going to happen if RAD 140 compromises? It's still going to allow you to have an inhibition of myostatin so you could grow like almost the YK11 product, and I don't actually pertain to it like as a SARM because it's more like testosterone. See? So what I'm thinking is that you are going to have a really good result out of it, and we're going to actually see what happens. And let's see if it affects the T3 levels, T4 levels. Let's see in your blood work. You see? This is amazing. So I'm actually really excited to see what's going to happen.
Okay. Now, Coach, I have a question. So, because you mentioned FSH and LH before, can you just give a quick summary about what are those hormones responsible for as far as regarding to testosterone?
Yes.
Why
LH,
140 might affect those?
Yeah. Well, very important because LH is in charge in females in their pregnancies and their elevation of hormones, the stress, anger, emotions, and everything. But in males, it's actually responsible for your production of the actual testosterone. So if it's compromised, what's going to happen? Are you still going to have mass? Are you not going to have mass? Now, if it's the actual FSH hormone, which they go together, then we're going to be seeing some crazy things happen because that one happens right there in the pituitary gland. And it's important because it also predicts your sexual development, your penis enlargement in some males at an age. So let's say you were like 18. Well, guess what? Your glands are still growing till you're 25. So it would be freaking amazing to see what would happen in that particular area, and not only in that area, in muscle growth. Because without testosterone, you can't grow. You need testosterone to grow. It's going to change the coloration of your skin, the actual feeling, the well-being. And I believe that RAD 140 has the potential to enhance these factors.
Okay.
You know, and I don't think it's a high dose either.
So your theory is that it's basically going to maybe augment my TRT to a point where it's like I'm getting more bang for my buck out of my testosterone replacement therapy, because if I'm taking 200 milligrams, which is a low dose compared to, but still, for anybody who has a decline of testosterone, with like I would, it's still going to do a lot of wonders. But you're thinking that it's going to maybe make it seem like it's like I took double my dose, maybe possible.
Exactly, and we will see that. What if it stimulates the pituitary gland? Then we don't need to use this product only for cancer, or for metastatic cancer and breast cancer or any cancer. We could use it for other purposes, like DHEA. You know what I mean? So this is like a new route to use RAD 140 for.
Augmented hormone replacement therapy. I like it. I think you're definitely on to that. What you're thinking, your predictions are very spot on, because of the way how we know a SARM works. It definitely seems like, okay, combining it with a steroid like testosterone, it only can augment things. And that seems like what I see, and it seems to be like what the point of what even the scientists, when they develop these SARMs, being very selective on specific purposes, while still achieving the same goals as the anabolic steroids originally were designed, but being more specific in how they go about. I think this is
and doing it safely, because the thing is, you're not on a crazy cycle where you're taking a lot of testosterone, so it's not going to actually hinder the actual hormones or even the estrogen levels. It's not going to convert over into DST that simple. So we're gonna need a couple of months to see the real truth. Now, this is where the good parts happen. We're planning to do this with 2 phases into the study, right?
Yeah.
One is injectable, and the other one is
the oral one. So
oral.
So phase 1, for everybody of this thing, is going to be doing it exactly like how the trial was, which was that they did use a pill form of RAD 140. But what they didn't use was the injectable form, which is a much more bioavailable, thus much more powerful version of it. And that's going to be basically where we do the first 6 weeks with the pill form to see where if the 100 milligrams twice per week is either too much or too little. We'll see. We will see. But based on that data, we will then wait after 6 weeks to get new blood work to see how it affected me, and then we'll decide. And then we'll switch over to the injectable form, which the dose would be dose dependent on what we get from the data from the oral form. But because obviously if 200 milligrams of the pill form may be too much, we're not going to do 200 milligrams of the injectable form. We would already know it's going to be way too much. So
exactly.
So again, and like how Coach Elias said, we don't know what this data and combination of the two is going to be between testosterone and the SARM. It may just open up brand new possibilities of
doors.
Of not only just physical development for bodybuilding, but also may be new health routes. This is the biggest reason why I'm excited for this experiment, is I want to see how if it's going to be a good thing for the human body for progressing human evolution or not. But we won't know until we try. So the next step that we're going to go into is that we did get blood work, because that is the smart thing about how we for both bodybuilding and for science, is we need to get numbers. So I recently just got blood work done. I'm going to go over it with Coach Elias and get his medical expertise as a paramedic and scientist to see how I look so far, or just in general for this cycle we're doing. But I also just want to be, and then get his opinion on what we need to pay attention to specifically when we get more blood work, just to make sure that my health is still intact. So
let's do it.
All right. Okay, so right over here, this was the recent blood work. We had a lot. I did get a lot of blood work done for this experiment. Very extensive, the most extensive I've ever done. So right now we have our T4, 2.8. Pretty in the middle, not bad. Free T3, T4 is that's the thyroid hormone. It's pretty good. Let's go scroll down. Here's the CBC differential. Okay, everything so far is marked good. Here's our metabolic panel, our glucose levels at 92. Boom. Pretty good.
Okay, so, here we go. So this part, Allie,
the EST and the ALT.
Yes, that part. Okay, I could explain really briefly, and so everybody understands. Okay, so basically a slight elevation in the liver enzymes. Now, this doesn't mean is a correct marker. This actually could be that you were already training your muscles. And sometimes it's known, actually 100% of the times, it is known that that enzyme could go and travel through the liver, and it could give you a false reading. So it will appear like, you know, over for a bit, and it's not even over by 8 points and by, you know, 6 points on the ALT. So in this case, you would be ready to go into a cycle because you already started working out. And, you know, your progress, you had no shoulders when you started. You know, you had body weight, body fat. You slimmed down. How many pounds? You know?
15.
So exactly, 50, exactly. So we're talking about hardcore training could lead to this. He was not on Tylenol. It could have been, he was not under stress because he went through a phase 1 and phase 2 of my training, which is transforming this mindset into having more organization and being more ready and more motivated to conquer a goal. And he already showed and passed all these tests. So this over here is perfect to start a cycle right now.
Okay. So nothing to worry about as far as most likely from the training that you put me through during this month that caused the elevation. So nothing else.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, but this is something that if it was to skyrocket, it for anybody who would be taking blood work for their cells, they would, regardless if they're on going into a cycle or not, that tests their liver enzyme. So
yes, now
that means to worry about.
Yes, now if we were doing the RAD 140 and we see an elevation because of a higher dose, then yes, it was compromised because we took a higher dose of RAD 140. Okay. And we will see that in the next blood test.
Right.
However, we don't know. Right. It would be amazing to see how RAD 140 actually triggers this enzyme. And if in fact it's actually that, because it's really easy. If it's not at stage 3, it's really easy and it's reversible. Oh. It is really easily reversible. And my prediction is that you're going to be at 127 on the AST, and on the ALT, you would be at almost 97 to 118. That's my prediction, which is reversible. Yeah.
Okay. So a temporary skyrocket, but still nothing to be too concerned.
No, that's normal. That would be normal on a bodybuilding cycle.
Okay. All right. We'll wait and see what happens when that comes around. The urinalysis is here.
Yeah, and I got a protocol to, already on place to handle that within the cycle. Okay. So this does not happen. Okay. And it would be really cool because if it doesn't happen with that, then we have a really good cycle.
Okay. So, all right, we'll have to do another video about that protocol in case anybody needs to do a liver detox.
Yes.
Okay, so my urinalysis, that's just from the urine sample I had to give. Everything is good for that too. Lipid panels. So this one actually, I got a question for you because this was very interesting. So I was on my last experiment, which was with the testing out the injectable cardarine, which I did for the purposes of improving my lipid panels. And last blood work I had, everything was phenomenal. My total cholesterol was actually around 150-ish, and my HDL was much higher, and my LDL was much lower. Now, this is unusual, and I was doing the carnivore diet while I was doing it. What would you now? I could see here, as we could see here, the LDL is now higher and the HDL is lower. What could possibly happen? I mean, this was the first month that I was really consistent with my dieting, and I was also very consistent with my training.
Yes, I will tell you.
Okay.
This is what happened. So basically, before the month that you started, your body was already in a shock process. You finished the carnivore experiment. A couple time passed. You were eating and taking foods away, and you decided to do the carnivore diet, and you were eating some fats, some protein, and everything. But all of this converts into fat. So in your heart, in the left chamber, the left side, you're going to have something that's called embolos, right? So these embolos travel and they build up with plaque. And this plaque buildup will allow cholesterol levels to be higher. So by pushing it through, doing the exercise and everything, it would actually become higher, the LDL. And it's possible that all you needed to do is a little bit slight changes into the actual carnivore diet. Now that you've established a diet, with exercise, this should go down and this should be balanced out. Okay. And I have a protocol to keep those numbers stable, which, we could use a statin like simvastatin.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't worry about it because it's only elevated, by 18 points. 18 points. And we're not talking about like bad, it's not bad cholesterol. It's not, the total cholesterol is 178. So it's right in the center. So yeah, you're ready to start this experiment, right?
Okay. So it's just like, so again, another thing that just might be a temporary measure that, just like an in the moment thing, why those numbers might be the way they are.
Yes. Yeah, and it really is, because remember, your body is cleaning itself. It's going, that the training was intense.
Yeah.
That the metabolism was skyrocketing. Your heart was pounding. The actual intensity of the cardio, the actual weight training, it was high reps. I mean, you could talk about it. How it was. So yeah, the body's going to find a way to take all these lipids and fix them. So this is actually really good.
Just drastic changes that the body's going through right now. Okay.
Yes.
We'll definitely have to do another video about that. Iron. Okay, so this was actually something that I was surprised.
Yeah, that's really important.
So why is this important that I figured that we discovered that my iron saturation is low?
Okay. First off, how are you with vegetables and spinach?
Well, doing the carnivore diet, I didn't have them in my diet, but I had a lot of red meat, which was also high. It would have been high in iron. But I did cut back on my red meat recently because I was trying to accommodate for more fish and chicken and such. So, yeah.
Okay.
As far as the vegetables, I have to be very careful because I'm not saying I have like something like Crohn's disease or something, but I definitely have a lot of food sensitivities that, in particular, certain vegetables trigger digestive issues. So that's kind of why I minimize my vegetable intake as much as possible, especially when I go high protein. It's not that I don't like them, it's just that this is something that I've observed, and with the gastro issues that I've had, I am very weary. I have to be very cautious.
Well, it's really important because iron actually is the one that transports oxygen, right? So if it's a transporter of oxygen, that means is going to also help with nitrogen. And if you don't have the actual nitrogen, you don't have protein synthesis. And we don't have protein synthesis, we don't have muscle growth, right? So what I did is I structured an actual really good meal plan where you're going to be eating a lot of food. So we're going to see, and we added 2 cups of spinach within some of the meals. And this number will go up. And we also added a supplement, which is perfect because it's low. It's low by 1 point, but I want it around 47 to even 60. So I prefer to have it higher and have you with a little bit of constipation. With constipation would actually happen when it's at 87 or at 74. So 74 to 87, this is when constipation would happen in a patient, but not on males, on females. You having, the actual digestive problem, it's just simple. Remember, you were eating something else. You started the carnivore diet. Your body's getting adjusted to, actually receiving red meat. So this red meat actually stays 8 hours in your system. It's just slow digesting protein. So what we needed to do is give you a little bit more of everything in the right portions so you could actually stabilize and have the metabolism faster and a higher number in your iron saturation. And this is really easy to mitigate, but it's really important. So that's the first thing I saw, and I was like, okay, let me get on this. Okay. So on this particular experiment, we're going to start it with that program, with that protocol.
Okay. All right. So now we bring it back to the RAD experiment itself. We can look at how
I like this one.
So my testosterone, this is again, when I got this blood work, I didn't take my second shot for the week of testosterone. So this, but yet even then, when I didn't take the second shot, and this was already after, this is on a Thursday, so a few days after the first shot, so that's when it starts to decline in the blood levels. I still had 968 total testosterone, which is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that is actually amazing.
Yeah.
Because even though it says it's high, even my testosterone, they checked it. The last time it was over 1,500. And I didn't pin for like 27 days. And it was still at 1,500. So, I think that this is pretty good because you're getting away with a lot. So you could pin a little bit less and have better results. So basically you're pinning with 200. So yeah, it's really, that's a good number. It's not bad.
And then
I know it's high, but for bodybuilding purposes,
it's
any bodybuilder will have him high.
Okay. So this is still good for both health and for bodybuilding. They're like a sweet spot between the two.
Yeah. Now, if it was a TRT clinic, they're going to be like, no, we want that number lower than 200 and lower than 300 because we want to get you, your testosterone. So they might say something, but we're talking about, free testosterone. So like if your free testosterone, right, was like at 200, then you need more testosterone, man. You need more, and they're gonna try to figure it out. Now, these actual blood tests come in different levels and different, the actual DL number, PG and ML, and they figure out in different countries and everything. So over here stateside, this is an actual really good way to see how your testosterone, your free testosterone is, and everything that's happening properly. Because age-wise, it's really important. The actual parameters change, and it's actually 30-year-old, 40-year-old, and females, it changes too. And if you're looking at this video, you should know this, because if you're a female and you're watching this video, you don't want to do this actual experiment without testing your testosterone and seeing and finding out what your testosterone levels are, which in females, 50 is actually high. So yeah, you don't want to overdo it.
So you mentioned free testosterone, which is the next level, which that I've never seen that high on my blood work. So that's actually
yeah, that's high.
So just
really high.
Okay, so this basically means that for anybody who wants to know what total and free testosterone difference is, it's basically total testosterone is the total amount of testosterone that's present in your system. You know, it's just the entire kick and booty. The free testosterone is the differential between the total of what your body's actually utilizing, because we have another hormone called sex-binding hormone globulin, which will bind to not just testosterone, but to any hormone in the body that includes estrogen, DHT, vitamin D, etc., and makes it unusable. So that was the problem I had originally that got me my diagnosis with low testosterone, was that my free testosterone used to be very low. I had decent number of total testosterone, but I had very low free testosterone, which meant that it didn't really matter how much testosterone I had. I wasn't truly utilizing it all. So now I'm not in that boat at all. Now, here's one of the things that we got to pay attention to in this experiment, is that SARMs are known to compromise sex-binding hormone globulin. If anything, tank them. I've seen blood work done by others who've gotten their sex-binding hormone globulin being tanked. Now, Coach, given that my free testosterone is already really high just by taking my normal TRT protocol, if the SARM compromises the sex-binding hormone globulin even more, then what kind of expectations could we possibly expect with my testosterone levels?
Well, if it's compromised and the other one is high, you're going to still see results. Now, you could have a little bit of hypertrophy, and testicles, you're going to see some hypertrophy, some, they're going to get a little bit smaller. Now, in my personal experience with this is I did tank him in purpose. So I tanked them in purpose. They came back at 21, but the actual total was like, it says 1,500 plus, because they're not allowed to specify this number. If it's like a local lab or whatever, even hospitals, they're not allowed. Why they're not allowed? Because then FDA has to go inside and investigate, and they're going to find out. They could actually report and everything. So it's better to leave these companies, do their solo, make some money, monopoly, and just get the money from the clients, and it's easier for everybody. But what I experienced was I still saw muscle growth. Did I get, shrinkage of the testicles? No, I did not. Why? Well, I know a lot about chemical structures, a lot about compounds, and I build really good bodybuilding cycles. So in this case, I did use a little bit of ACG. You're already using EA, and did they actually put you on, oh my God, HCG?
They had it originally before they had to reschedule the classification for ACG, so that there was, they had me on ACG on cycle. So
okay, but there's other paths.
Yes, but I have ever since then I haven't been using ACG because I don't get it. But I have not yet seen anything like as far as the shrinkage part that you're talking about. So.
Yeah, exactly. And how about the sexual drive? Because in my particular, I'm not really worried. Yes, the doctors will be. They're going to be like, are you even taking your, what is going on? Should we give him a DECA? Should we give him this? So it's going to be interesting what the actual TRT is going to do. The actual TRT clinic is going to do to you when they see this change. If you go and actually get tested, to get back, level or something. If they ask for it, it would be really, really interesting.
Oh, certainly will be. All right. So moving forward, so we have the free testosterone direct. All these are all the other references that basically just reflecting this thing.
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. The actual, yep.
Okay. So yeah, hemoglobin. That is. That's for if I remember correctly, about the red blood cell count.
Oh yeah, that's important too.
So it's good, right? So,
yeah, that's actually good. And it's going to become higher. It's going to become higher. You'll see.
that's why my doctor actually forces me to every 3 months to go get blood donations. So that way I can get the blood levels under control so they don't get too high. So
yeah, we don't want them at 8 or 9.
No.
And even though we could mitigate it with some aspirin, mandatory, but we do want them high because we don't want only one soldier working to make muscle. We want 1 million soldiers to make muscle. And that's different. When you see the number, don't think about it as a number. Think that you have 5 is like 5 soldiers. And you don't want it at 5, you want it like at 8. So because we could control this really easily in the bodybuilding industry, which the doctors are going to be like, whoa, my God, something's happening, go donate blood right now. You're compromised, your heart is getting compromised, you're going to have blood pressure. But we do need to have it elevated a little bit because you don't want only one soldier, you want 1,000 or 1,000,000 soldiers working to that muscle created right there and then.
Okay, so just a little higher for the purpose of performance, but not too high to where it compromises my health, which again, if every 3 months I'm donating blood, or we take something like Cialis, then that will also keep everything in control.
Yeah, exactly. And even statins, yeah, that's amazing. They will actually lower it. And I do that personally. I mean, statins are used for cholesterol purposes, but they actually enhance, because when we're doing this experiment, I'm not only thinking about enhancing you as a human. We got to start with your blood. I got to enhance your blood first. So that's the kind of things that people miss when they're doing these experiments. When they're actually doing a scientific experiment, you have to enhance the blood of that actual,
well, they did say
person, rat, whatever we're using.
Well, they did say in the old days, in ancient times, blood is life. So,
yes, it is.
So, all right. Well, I like the thinking. So DHEA sulfate, right in the middle. That's the pro hormone basically to all the precursor to all the hormones. And correct?
Yes, that is true.
So this is a good number to start with. Now,
yes, that is actually a really good number because it's right in the middle. We're balancing it out. You're not overboard. You're not taking more than 50 milligrams. And I mean, if you wanted to go higher, you just need to take a little bit more.
So far, I'm only taking 10 milligrams. That's mixed in with my testosterone.
And you could even go, yeah, exactly. And you see, this is actually what people need to notice. This actual experiment is really low on everything, but we're just slightly using what we found on the study and just balancing it out to a number, 60. Mm-hmm. So this is really good. This is really good.
Okay. The cortisol, which is the stress hormone, on the low end of everything so far on the AM and PM. So it shows that I get more stressed out towards the evening, which I think that's normal. I come from work and everything. So, but normal. Everything's pretty good, which is good because if that was too high, there would be health issues, but also muscle building and problems.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the luteinizing hormone and the FSH, which you mentioned earlier before, is the things that stimulate the production of the testosterone. Those are low. Those are already
low. They are low.
I'm actually surprised because between this and seeing this would explain the free testosterone being so high. I'm actually surprised that I'm only taking testosterone. I'm not taking and yet meanwhile previous blood works that I had with the clinic have shown that you are these
borderline
numbers, what?
That's borderline close to they would say it's irreversible, but it's reversible.
Yeah, I know. I'm just surprised though, because I'm actually taking less in my therapy because I was supposed to be taking. I was originally on a Arimidex. I was on a ACG.
Oh wow, that.
But now I'm only on testosterone, and I'm still taking the same dosage, and yet Okay, because these numbers used to be very high before I even started my, and that was part of the thing that I came to the conclusion that why I was having to stop, hormonal issues in the begin with, because I was not.
Well, it could be some other factors too, Allie. If you had a trauma event, any withdrawals from drugs, even if you were like a COVID crisis and you couldn't get your TRT on time, these markers will actually be, lower because you're going to go into a little bit of stress, and this will show in your prolactin levels, estrogen levels, and everything else is going to be like compromised. So I'm surprised.
Yeah. So wait, you're saying stress itself could be a big factor, which I always thought that stress was a big factor.
Depression, a stress, a crash, an accident, a trauma event. Someone is dying in the family. Even government stressing out, with
COVID. Everybody being stressed out with COVID. That might okay. This might actually put things in perspective now. All right, that's interesting. PSCA, which is for the prostate, that's almost non-existent, so I have no problem with that. We got the IGF level, which currently I'm on 10 milligrams of MK677, so I'm actually in the middle. So that's a pretty.
I like that number. That's really, really good. We could actually take 2 because it's 6 meals. I know it's going to probably be impossible at the beginning to get the 6 meals in, but they're not that. I think you will because of the actual training. Okay. So this is what's going to help you. That's actually going to help you build that muscle too, because RAD 140 is going to give you that strength and that boost, energy, mass and everything. But this number, we could even bring it up a notch.
So you're saying maybe either
do IGF.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll definitely talk more about that.
And vitamin D.
Vitamin D, very important. 60. So it's not definitely on the higher end. Is this so just because I know that for a long time, I did not know what would be an optimal number to go shoot for on this scale, because doctors aren't very specific about it. They just tell you that as long as you're above. So what is a good number for my vitamin D? Is this a good number here?
Well, honestly, I would bring that up. I wouldn't even be scared at all to bring it over 100. Because vitamin D is what they call vitamin D, but in reality is actually a steroid. It's a hormone, and it's natural hormone. And I don't know why they don't just call it by what it is. Probably it's an actual hormone. Yeah, and we need that hormone to enhance the gear, to enhance the testosterone production. So even taking, taking the same dose that you're doing right now and doing a little exposure into the sun for 17 minutes, boom, that you'll bring it up. And we'll talk in another video about the PT141 protocol we have established, for the future, which will actually enhance vitamin D. So yeah, this is something that you guys want to look into it.
All right. So that's another good video to talk about. Lipoprotein. So estrogen, also my estrogen levels are actually, that was another problem I was experiencing earlier this year, was that I had a crash estrogen because of the AI I was taking. Now we managed to bump it back up.
Yeah, we need that elevated. I want the estrogen a little bit elevated. And I know a lot of bodybuilders are going to be like, oh my God, well, you know what, bro? It's not high. It's at 48. And we need estrogen to build muscle. We got Allen. We're not talking about some other random, we're talking about an athlete that is driven, by science. And he's willing to do whatever it takes for his goal. So we need that estrogen high in this experiment, whatever we do. And it won't be bad. There's ways to bring that low, if we needed it. But estrogen builds muscle. So this is actually really good. Right now, just having that slightly elevated, Allie, will actually help us enhance the actual scientific experiment we're about to do with the RAD 140.
Okay. So this is, all right. B12, that's high. That's always not a bad thing though, right?
No. I mean, we need vitamin 12, and I found out that but this is by personal experience and experiments. If you could get vitamin B12, anywhere, doctors use B vitamins for pain management. So having it high, you could go into a higher intensity workout and have less pain, less strain to the muscle, less injuries.
So just even taking B12 vitamin, a B complex supplement that you pick up from like Costco or something like that, that might actually, for somebody who's experiencing pain, that actually might help alleviate some of the pain that they're experiencing.
Yes, not only that, but retaining that muscle. Because I found out when I injected the vitamin B complex, even B15, which is, no one talks about B15.
I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, it is amazing. So basically you can do a really strong cutting cycle and you inject it into that, particular muscle group that you're working out that day. And you will never, ever lose that muscle. It actually becomes harder. Your strength is way higher. The actual energy boost that you get is so superhuman that it is something that, you have to experience yourself.
So, all right.
So even though it's 100, I mean, we're talking about like almost 80 points, which is good, man. We need that. It'll stay stable because you're not going overboard. You could bring it higher, but we'll see.
Okay. So, so B12, magnesium is pretty good. So the magnesium protocol you got me on is actually helping out. Is doing its job. Progesterone, which is the other female hormone, which is normally associated with nandrolone steroids, is on the low. It's actually almost zero. So I don't know if that's
yeah, we're good there.
Okay. Insulin. So my insulin, this is probably coming. I don't know if this is good coming from, because is this too low? This seems too low to me because I know insulin.
Yeah, it is. But medically, they're gonna have to run another test and decipher there which insulin they could do if you need it, and it has to be a lower number. It has to be like at 1 point something, or you have to be on diaphoresis. Diaphoresis is like when you have cold sweats and hot sweats at the same time and presenting symptoms where your actual sugar levels are really low or really high. So they're really high,
right?
Boom, you get it.
So if it's too low right now, the only thing I'm really taking is slim pills.
Slim pills. It's because of the slim pills, or even metformin. Metformin does this too.
It does it too. So with that being said, does that mean that I may have to either eat more carbohydrates to balance it out or dial back?
Yeah, once we drop the weight that I want you to be in, we're gonna take it out, or we could just eat. Yeah, that's why I added a little bit more carbs. You saw it's
okay. All right.
Yep.
Cool. Now T3, which is the main thyroid hormone, that's almost at 3. Now it's
suppressed a little bit. Yeah, it is suppressed a little bit, but it's because of the overweight. Now this will come back to normal, once you keep losing that weight, because the thyroid, you could know when someone has thyroid issues around the neck. If their neck is thick and they have like a little bit of a fat buildup under the jaw, there's a thyroid issue. So I don't know why doctors don't, actually prescribe it at like 2.5 would be perfect. And T3 is not the same thing as T4, because sometimes you'll need T3 with T4 to be able to lose fat. So if you're overweight, T4 will actually help you a lot more. People prefer T3, which T3 alone will not help because it comes in a powder, and the T4 comes in a pill, which is Synthroid. And the combination of both in females particularly will actually have a really, really amazing effect, not only in, losing weight, but controlling everything in the body, because when that hormone is compromised, that means that everything's going to nothing's going to work properly. Your testosterone, you're feeling horrible all day. Your heart rhythm is chaotic. you have like no motivation, depressed all the time. So T3 is borderline, and it wouldn't be bad for any coach to actually tell you to, just take the actual T4. The T4 would be good. In my personal opinion, I would actually put you on 100 micrograms of T4, not even looking at it. So,
okay, so right now I already take T2 from All Day Shred from Enhanced Labs,
perfect.
which is a precursor to that. So, and this blood work reflects me being on just the T2. But you're saying that maybe I should add 100 micrograms on top of the T2 to try to help even it out more, and then if necessary, then maybe.
Synthroid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the body would only absorb. This is the thing, the doctors don't tell people. They'll prescribe you a high dose or 50, right? They'll start you off with 25 micrograms. And what happens is when you take it on an empty stomach, the body only allows the absorption of 17%. So that means you only get you're only getting like 17 out of it, 17 micrograms. So we need that actually higher to fix those numbers in people and for them to actually trigger weight loss. But they know this. They know this. The people have used this actual, steroid. They have used this actual hormone. So they'll be like, no, let's not give you, no, let's leave it at 50 and wait 3 months and see how it goes. And in 3 months, you come back and then I'll actually raise it. Well, that's why you have coaches that actually do what they do. And you see results.
Okay. All right then. So next thing we'll go over is sex hormone binding globulin, which we've talked about before with the FSH.
Yeah, we did.
So that's low. That would explain why the other hormones from before and the free testosterone being so high. So it's already low now, which means that if we take the SARM, it's most likely going to drop it even further.
Yeah, so, that's actually possible. But remember, your TRT, the ester that we're using, the buildup, I think it's going to stay almost the same because it's not a high dose, 60. So 1, 2, 3, it'll probably stay around the same number.
You said 60, so a 60 milligram dose of RAD or we're going
to. Yeah, 60. Yeah, because I know it's 25.
Well, we're doing
standard for everybody. We're triple. Yeah, we're basically going higher.
So we're going. So that's, you think that's the end dose that we're going to be sticking with the RAD, towards the end, but you think that the 100 milligram dose is probably going to be too high in the beginning. Correct?
Yeah. So we'll bring it up if we have to. We'll bring it up.
Well, I was thinking. Well, there. Pause for 1 second. So just take it.
But right now what I have is we're doing 100 milligrams. I'm just saying, if we find out like there's, in a couple months, some issue and you're having some problems, then we have to do it safely and, bring it down to 60 and do another video. But because first, we're doing this for science, but, we're humans. So we want to keep everything safe, healthy, and professional for you guys, the audience. That's really important that you guys see that this is not reckless. That's why I actually said this number. So that's the actual point. Okay. But what we want to do is seeing what happens at 100 milligrams, 60 hours. We find out that that's the actual half-life. So this is going to be a really cool experiment. Yeah.
All right. So yes. So most likely, going back, if we go back to the sex life, if it does somehow go lower, this is my prediction, because I know that, because we got to remember that sex binding hormone globulin does not only affect testosterone, it affects estrogen, it affects the other anabolic hormones like DHT and progesterone. If it goes too low, and basically since this hormone is the natural limiter in the body to make sure that everything stays in homeostasis, then could we, for example, let's just say that since I don't need an AI right now for it to control my estrogen, could the estrogen go up higher on this type of experiment because of the lack of SHBG?
Well, technically, scientifically, yes, because we need, if there's low estrogen, there's no way you're going to build muscle.
Right.
No way. By putting actually more into your body, and I'm known to doing the craziest anabolic cycles in history ever recorded in bodybuilding. Yeah, I saw amazing results going really high dose, but I also found out that, you know, you could reach a genetic mutation and go really low dose and keep your results forever, which everybody says that this doesn't happen. Well, it does happen. It does happen, and it's proven by science. So this is why you see some bodybuilders go really high and then they go really low. They always say they're low, but they're not low. They went really high. Or they do massive experiments where they're like technically doing an experiment for 21 days, take off 2 weeks, which is not proper, and then go back into another, because we're having the esters there. You have to wait for that ester to die, or do my protocol, I got a theory, which I found out how to actually do esterification, where you get rid of the esters in bodybuilding. And this is another topic that you guys will see with actual Dr. Tony Huge in the future, and something that's new, amazing, and has never been talked about, but I found out, and it's freaking amazing.
I'm looking forward to that type of information. I like the idea that we might mutate a little bit to make ourselves actually evolve to be better.
Yeah.
So definitely more interesting. And that's it. So that's basically it. So overall, the blood work, it's pretty good. It's in a pretty good starting point, you know, in your opinion. We definitely.
Yeah, what would it actually do to muscle density? Like less side effects, you know, there's right. So Ellie and me are going to figure out, we have a couple of questions. We're going to fill up the blanks for you guys in a future video. And we really hope that you guys enjoyed this. Anything else you have for them, Ellie?
To me, again, I'm a science nerd, a bodybuilding fitness nerd who is actually just finally getting into bodybuilding seriously. But the point is that I'm always looking to try to discover new things, and I'm, you know, so that's to me the most important thing. So even if something bad happens, you know, I know we gotta be real here. This is the whole point. But even if something like negative happens during this experiment, at least we be telling you guys, and we tell support, because then that is part of the science process. You know, we give this information to you so you know the good, the bad, and the in-betweens. So more information to come about this experiment. You guys will be updated, and I will have Coach Elias come on more to go over the other parts of what we're doing for both my transformation as well as for this experiment. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys. Stay well and swell, my friends. And we are, oh wait.
That video was awesome, bro. I think